Sitting in his own private paradise, strumming his classical guitar, Darko Desic reflects on a life that's taken many twists and turns.
I've done the bad thing, wrong thing. I let my family down, my father, and tarnish their name and my name. And that's a bad thing to do.
Darko Desic, a name that drew international headlines.
Take one.
Take one, exactly.
For the first time, the one-time fugitive has opened up about his life, his mistakes, and his future.
Everybody does sometimes bad thing, but doesn't make him a bad person.
From criminal to prison escapee to folklore legend.
Your actions, on average, through the years, speak who you are.
Why have you decided to speak to me now?
Well, it's a good question. Probably just not to clear the things, but more about maybe to inspire people to some extent that to survive.
Leaving his father and two brothers behind, Darko Desic arrived in Australia from the then Yugoslavia in 1988.
Australia was a land of opportunity. There was not much opportunity there in old Yugoslavia.
But the lure of easy money was too much of a temptation.
And I took the wrong turn, which is what? Make it quick, make it easy. Wrong. I was drying marijuana that I picked up, harvested in the bush. To be exact, it was a 22 kilo. It was a quite amount.
Yeah. He was caught red-handed in bushland near Kempsey on the New South Wales north coast.
Slim, dusty country.
When he realised he was surrounded by police, Darko took off.
And I was on a run for a year.
He was in Coffs Harbour when the law caught up with him.
And I was arrested and I was charged with cultivating possession, and I was sentenced to 4 years and 7 months or something like that.
He did time in Grafton Jail, Long Bay and Cessnock Prison. Facing the threat of deportation 13 months into his sentence, he decided he needed to escape.
I got notice to be deported, and I realized that was a war in Yugoslavia.
Darko says it wasn't the war that scared him, but facing his family.
I sort of tried to punish myself for letting down my mother first.
She died when Darko was just 15.
That I promised the night before she died that I'm going to be good and I'm going to study.
To avoid deportation, Darko Desic began hatching his plan.
Well, since I was a model prisoner, always work, no problem, I actually requested to go to new section of Grafton Jail that just opened. And everything that is new will have some kind of flaw, security flaw. And after a while, I realized, yeah, there is a security flaw here.
What was that flaw?
Security flaw was that they had a workshop that I knew that I could get there, and I noticed they had the board cutters.
Back in the day, Grafton Jail was regarded as one of the toughest of prisons.
First, I have to get out of my cell. That part would be quite easy. I took a length of file and some putty. I put a blanket over the bars to damp the noise.
Over the next 2 nights, he filed away at the jail bar, using putty to disguise the cut.
I was now concerned they're going to find out, check randomly. So what I did was I filed to the cut to the bar, and all what I have to do is basically to bend that bar, go through the louvers and a mesh.
Finally, the day arrived.
It was a Sunday. I wanted to escape on my birthday, on my 35th birthday. That was my, I don't know, he set a date.
Yeah. It was after midnight, raining and freezing cold.
I bent the bar, went through it, jumped from the first floor, it was alone, went to the fence.
Darko made his way to the workshop where he grabbed the bolt cutters and headed for the perimeter fence.
Got bolt cutters, cut through. I made a inverted U shape.
Yep.
So just enough for me to go through. And I remember stepping through it and pulling it back together. So you would not even notice that it was cut. I ran about probably 15, 20 kilometers.
Wow.
It was a rainy night, and I knew that I have to spend some time in a bush, because I know first 24 hours or 48 hours is very crucial.
Wet and cold, he managed to start a small fire with a box of matches he'd taken with him and had wrapped in plastic.
And I stayed in a bush 3 days. I was getting desperate to get out. I was cold, I was hungry.
Before his arrest, Darko had buried $70,000 in cash in the sand at Coffs Harbour, proceeds of his cannabis sales.
So my idea was, Grafton to Coffs Harbour is 90 kilometers. If I can make it to Coffs Harbour without being caught, I get to that stash.
But the money wasn't there.
I could not find it.
Really?
I could not find it.
The cash had been stolen. He suspects someone may have seen him bury it.
So I was broke.
Yeah.
I didn't have nowhere to turn.
Desperate, he reached out to a fellow prison inmate's wife who took him in.
After 4 or 5 days, I had the first hot meal and warm bed to stay in.
The woman gave Darko $100 and he bought a train ticket to Sydney.
It was the 6th of August. It was exactly on my birthday.
It was the start of Darko Desic's new life, hiding in plain sight for 30 years. It began in Avalon, an idyllic beachside suburb in Sydney's north.
I lived with surfers, moved from place to place, didn't have to have ID, nobody asked nothing.
He was anonymous. Locals started calling him Dougie. And no one knew?
No.
No one knew where your
No.
history?
No. If there would ever be a mention, would be I think was once or twice illegal immigrant.
There were 1 or 2 close calls. Once, when a workmate approached him.
He said, "Dougie, I saw you on Most Wanted last night." And
Were you worried that he would?
No.
No? Why?
No, I was not worried. I won't mention his name, but
No.
but he never ever. Did he tell other guys? Probably, but there was nothing.
Life on the run was, in his words, easy. A local builder gave him work.
I was a good worker and they pay me cash.
But the qualified engineer yearned for more.
So I realized I want to learn more about high mathematics because I knew that something was missing from what I learned.
That led him to computers, self-taught from books.
I spent quite a bit of money on books about operating system, programming languages, computer architecture.
At times he felt he should try to leave the country.
My plan was to get out. How?
Out of the country?
Yeah. But how, I wouldn't have known.
He felt safe in Avalon among mates. But there was one close call when a detective came knocking.
So my face must have dropped because he said, "No, don't worry about it. It's nothing to do with you."
Turns out the police officer was investigating a crime involving a neighbour.
So that's the closest I ever got to officer investigating something and asking me.
But Darko Desic was a man with no identity. You had no ID, no licence, no passport,
No.
no Medicare
No.
card.
I never needed a doctor. I was never sick.
On occasion, though, he did need a dentist.
Teeth, I pulled them. Even here, when I'm here, I got used to that I can pull my tooth out.
When he wasn't labouring, he was computing.
I had 7 computers. I was studying. I built my own networks. I wrote my little operating system on my own, just to study what is operating system.
He got into what he describes as a rhythm of life, but his years on the run were in many ways self-punishment.
I was basically, living like a monk, more or less, yeah. So I actually punished myself for mistakes I made.
But in 2021, as the world was gripped by COVID, Darko Desic became homeless when his share house was sold.
Comes to the stage when I didn't have any more people to rely like in the previous days.
Despite reports, he didn't spend years or months sleeping on the beach.
That was only a week or 10 days I stayed, and I didn't stay on the beach all the time. I slept on a mattress, on a football fields.
After 29 years on the run, life was catching up with him.
I didn't have any more will to go. That's it. And no will and no where to go.
On top of that, he got word his father had died.
And he wanted to see me. And last thing that we talked, that I said to him, one day I'm going to come back and visit all the places where we were once happy. I remember that. I was mentally weakened by that, and physically I didn't have nowhere to go as well. So it's a combination of things.
He decided he couldn't run anymore, so Darko got a lift to DY to hand himself in, spending his last night on the beach.
I remember meeting a fisherman, a Serbian guy, and actually I told him, first time I told someone like this, I'm going to go and give myself in. I've been 29, 30 years, I said, on a run. And they looked at me and we talked. But that was a good feeling. And I spent night there, freezing. And I felt somehow now free. I was going through some kind of emotional process, and I went, 2 o'clock was there. I went to the police station. I said, my name is Darko Desic, and I would love to hand myself in. I escaped from Grafton jail.
The officer checked police records.
He comes back, we haven't got you. We haven't got a record of you. I'm looking outside, nice and sunny. I can walk now anytime. Because they have no record of me, nothing.
But he had nowhere to go.
To be honest, he said to me, you are a citizen. I said, no, I'm not.
The police officer finally found Darko's record, took his fingerprints and placed him under arrest.
The young officer wasn't even born when he escaped custody.
News of the escapee, captured after 30 years on the run, spread quickly.
29 years ago, he broke out of Grafton jail. Tonight, he's back behind bars. What happened in between?
Lawyer Paul McGurr picked up the case.
The charges that he had back then had changed. They couldn't even find the paperwork at the time in what he'd been charged with.
Darko Desic had to finish his old jail term, which had 15 months to run, and he was given another 2 months for the escape.
He'd done his time well and truly and had given back to the community without taking a cent on welfare in any way.
Jail, Darko says, was not what he remembered.
Completely different generation. I was now uncle.
And bit of a celebrity.
Prisoners, they wanted to meet me. Some asked me for the autograph. I said, well, I hope you're not using it for bad purposes. No, I just want to tell people that I was with you.
It was, though, hard time.
Very hard. And I didn't have any resources to learn, to read. That was my life. 30 years I read, learn.
Did it ever occur to you in your mind that you might try to escape again?
No,
No?
ever. Never. They could have opened the door. I would never got out.
Darko did his time, and when he was released, he was immediately transferred to Sydney's Villawood Detention Centre to await possible deportation.
Some people have been there 7 years. I was worried to be there for a long time.
On the outside, Darko had amassed a small army of followers.
It's a bit of Aussie larrikinism, you know what I mean? We were founded on a convict settlement, whether we like it or not. At the end of the day, Australians like a bit of a rogue story, and we always have.
Locals on Sydney's northern beaches posting signs calling for his release. A public groundswell of support for the man they called Dougie.
It went around the world. It went viral.
But I was always surprised why. Even today I'm surprised why. It's nothing that I've done extraordinary.
Eventually he received the phone call he'd been hoping for.
Suddenly, in a couple of hours, I'm going to be driving out a free man.
For the first time in 30 odd years, you'll be a genuinely free man.
Yeah. I look at things now, not saying I'm free. It's almost like I'm... funny way, it's almost like I was always free.
Today, Darko Desic lives alone on a farm just outside Sydney.
I'm now, how you call it, now a man of solitude.
Given a job and somewhere to stay by a Sydney businessman who backed Darko from the start.
Thank you is not good enough. It's gratitude and believe that I'm, well, good person. And this is beat.
Now he appreciates open spaces, nature and his horses. And his passion for computers has not waned. Now he's learning all about artificial intelligence.
It's still programming, still, mathematics. And I think it's very exciting to learn that. I got this.
On his release from jail, Darko Desic was handed a jail release certificate. Today, it's his only form of identification.
I can't prove who I am.
While the country of his birth no longer exists, Darko has tried to get a Croatian passport. He's even tracked down his original Yugoslavian birth certificate.
I went to the Croatian consulate and I haven't got no identification papers. They told me like this: we can't prove who you are. So no wonder I couldn't get caught for 30 years.
He needs primary photo identification, a driver's licence or photo ID. But Transport New South Wales has told him he can't get either because he can't prove who he is.
So it's a catch-22 or one extra 2 catch.
While his father has died, Darko would love to visit his brothers in Croatia.
I think that's where I would probably feel a bit of happiness coming through. Because
but above all else, he wants to become an Australian citizen.
Because I feel like an Australian. I don't speak like one with my accent, but feeling is different the way that you speak, your accent.
At the age of 68, Darko Desic is now at peace, forever grateful to those who supported him and had faith in him.
So their trust in me was valid.